Elizabeth stood at the edge of the shoreline, her bare feet sinking slightly into the damp sand. The sky stretched endlessly above her, painted in soft grays and streaks of fading gold as the sun fought its way through lingering clouds. She held the hem of her dress in one hand, lifting it just enough to keep it from dragging. The wind teased loose strands of her hair, whipping them across her face. "We tried to have this photo shoot twice in 1 week," she said, half laughing, half exasperated, turning slightly toward Andrei, who stood a few feet behind her with the camera slung around his neck. "The first time, we canceled because it was raining. The second time," she paused, scanning the horizon as if the ending of the sentence might be written there. "The second time, we decided to stop waiting for perfect." Andrei smirked, adjusting the lens. "Perfect never comes," he replied. "You know this." Elizabeth turned back to him, raising an eyebrow. "That sounds like something you tell yourself when you don't want to plan ahead." He shrugged. "Or something I learned after marrying you." She rolled her eyes, but her smile betrayed her. Their banter had always been like this, sharp edges softened by affection, tension diffused by familiarity. It was how they survived everything: the distance, the culture clash, the expectations, the cameras. "Come on," he said, gesturing toward a cluster of rocks further down the beach. "The light is better there." Elizabeth hesitated for a moment. The sky didn't look promising. The clouds were thickening again, and the wind was picking up. It felt like history might repeat itself, another cancelled shoot, another postponed plan. But then she exhaled slowly, grounding herself. "No," she said firmly, "we're doing it here." Andrei looked surprised. "Here?" "Yes, right here. No running around chasing the perfect spot. This is real. This is us." For a moment, he studied her, as if trying to decide whether she was serious. Then, slowly, he nodded. "Okay," he said, "then let's make it count." The first few shots were awkward. Elizabeth shifted her weight from one foot to the other, unsure of where to place her hands. The wind kept blowing her hair into her eyes, and every time she tried to brush it away, Andrei would lower the camera and sigh. "Stop moving," he said. "I'm not moving," she shot back. "The wind is moving me." "Then control it." She laughed incredulously. "Oh, sure, let me just have a word with the atmosphere." Despite the frustration, there was something liberating about it. There was no elaborate setup, no carefully curated background, no team of stylists adjusting every detail. It was just them, two people who had built a life together in the messiness of reality. "Okay," Andrei said after a few more attempts. "Forget posing, just be." Elizabeth blinked. "Be what?" "Be you." She tilted her head. "You're the photographer. Isn't it your job to tell me what to do?" "No," he said, lifting the camera again. "My job is to capture what's already there." Something about the way he said it made her pause. For years, she had been trying to present a version of herself on camera, on social media, even in her own relationships, the right version, the one that made sense to everyone else. But what if she didn't have to? What if she could just exist, without editing herself? She took a slow breath, letting her shoulders relax. The tension in her body softened as she looked out at the ocean again. The waves rolled in steadily, unconcerned with appearances, indifferent to expectations. Andrei didn't say anything else, he just watched through the lens. Click. 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 "Walk," he said quietly. Elizabeth frowned. "Walk where?" "Just walk, along the water." She hesitated again, but only for a second this time. Then she started moving, her steps slow at first, then more natural as she found a rhythm. The cool water lapped at her feet, sending a shiver up her spine. "Don't think," Andrei added. "I always think." "Then think less." She laughed softly. "That's not helpful." "Try anyway." So she did. She focused on the sensation of the sand beneath her feet, the sound of the waves, the wind against her skin. She let herself drift into the moment instead of analyzing it. For the first time that day, she forgot about the camera. Click. 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 After a while, Andrei lowered the camera. "Come here," he said. Elizabeth walked back toward him, brushing her hair away from her face again. "Did we get anything usable?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned the camera around so she could see the screen. Her breath caught. The images weren't perfect, not in the traditional sense. Her hair was wild, her dress slightly wrinkled, her expression unguarded. In some shots, she was laughing. In others, she looked thoughtful, almost vulnerable. But there was something else, too. Something honest. "Wow," she whispered. Andrei watched her reaction carefully. "You like them?" She nodded slowly. "They feel real." He smiled. "Because they are." She glanced up at him. "You didn't try to fix anything." There was nothing to fix. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Then Elizabeth laughed softly, shaking her head. "You know, we spent so much time trying to reschedule this because the conditions weren't right. And maybe they were never supposed to be perfect." Andrei shrugged. "Or maybe we just needed to stop waiting." The sky began to darken again, the clouds finally releasing the rain they had been threatening all afternoon. At first, it was just a drizzle, light, almost refreshing. Elizabeth looked up, letting a few drops land on her face. "Well," she said, smiling, "there it is." Andrei raised the camera again. "Don't move." She laughed. "You're kidding." "I'm not." The rain started to fall more steadily now, soaking through her dress, clinging to her skin. Her hair flattened against her face, and she pushed it back instinctively. "Are we really doing this?" she asked. Andrei grinned. "Now it's perfect." She shook her head, but she didn't protest. Instead, she spun once, lifting her arms slightly as the rain fell around her. The moment felt almost cinematic, like something out of a story she hadn't realized she was living. Click. 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 By the time they finally stopped, they were both drenched. Elizabeth wrapped her arms around herself, shivering slightly as she walked back toward their car. "That was insane," she said. Andrei followed, still holding the camera carefully under his jacket. "It was worth it." She glanced at him. "You think so?" "I know so." They reached the car, and Elizabeth leaned against it for a moment, catching her breath. "You know," she said thoughtfully, "this whole thing kind of feels like our relationship." Andrei raised an eyebrow. "How?" She gestured vaguely toward the beach. "Messy, unpredictable, not what we planned." "And